Well, as the title implies, I did not like Darkest Dungeon 2. And I was a very, very big fan of the first game. And, I wanted to give you my honest opinion here, give a little bit of a review of the game, and go fairly in depth into it. Because upon deciding to buy this game, I did not encounter a lot of good reviews, which is pretty strange because it's a very popular game. And pretty much most of, if not all, the creators that I genuinely trust with the reviews and that I feel like normally are very, very accurate with their reviews, they gave very like milquetoast reviews for this game, like very fence-sitting reviews, which is strange because a lot of these creators, what I appreciate about them, is they're never like this. Um, and I don't believe I'm 99% sure, and they would have disclosed it, especially knowing the people I'm talking about, the YouTubers, that if they've received some sort of free copy or sponsorship from the game to review it, they would have disclosed that, right? So it they gave it always like again a milquetoast review with a lot of backhanded compliments and insults at the same time for the game. You clearly could tell there's a how can you say, there's a feeling that everyone kind of has, but at the same time I think there's a lot of people that did like the game. I can tell that this has been pretty divisive just reading Reddit and whatnot. So a lot of people, I think, are not wanting to piss anyone off. So they're fence sitting or kind of staying, very impartial with their reviews and not really saying if they really liked it or they really disliked it. Everybody seems to be kind of in the middle, but I think that most people disliked it. I'm sure some people liked it. I didn't completely hate the game. I'll get into that and what I did like about it, but genuinely I did not like it because it's not a true sequel of Darkest Dungeon. And this is a game I would have thought that people would be more strongly opinionated about it because it's such like a cult classic, such like a genre-defining game. I was surprised that the reviews were so bland, not very in depth, and not very opinionated. They were very just telling you about the game, but nobody really seems to be giving their opinion. People that I normally listen to for the opinion. So, just a little bit of background. I have hundreds of hours on Darkest Dungeon for the first game. It's probably one of my favorite games of all times. I intentionally did not play the beta of Darkest Dungeon 2 when it came out. I didn't want to sour my view about it. I didn't want to, I knew a lot of things are going to change. It's been in development for a long time. So I didn't really want to look into it. The only thing that I did see was the art style and the new animations and whatnot that absolutely look absolutely amazing, which we'll talk about all that. But I didn't purposely I didn't see a lot of reviews on the game because I wanted to get my take on it. I wanted to buy it, I wanted to play it and decide it for myself. So I bought this game on day one, Darkest Dungeon 2, and I played for 2 hours. And I was so my intention, like, I really wanted to like this game. I really wanted to like this game, and I bought it right when it was released, and I wanted to make a review of the game. And the reason I didn't is because within 2 hours I refunded it. I was so pissed off when I first played this game. So pissed off. I wanted it to be something that it was not. And it's not that the game is bad. It just does not live up to the name, but it's also not a true sequel. And I know I've been hearing a lot of people kind of disagreeing on this, and a lot of fights on Reddit about it. So, I'm just gonna be honest though. What I think, I don't think this game lives up to the name at all. So for that reason, I refunded. But I gave it a few days. I waited for more people to review the game and see what other people were saying, and I didn't really get like a true, and I don't know, like I feel like I wasn't getting people's real opinion on this game. So I went ahead and I repurchased it after refunding after like 3 or 4 days. And I'm like, you know what? Let me give it another shot. Everybody's saying the game is good. It's hard. Let's give it another freaking shot. All right. So repurchased the game, and I really wanted to play several hours before going ahead and reviewing it because I really didn't want my judgment here clouded by just the initial hours of the game. I wanted to give it some time to detach myself from the first game and really like evaluate this game on its own merits. But it's very hard to evaluate the game on its own merits. Because it is a direct sequel of the second game. It's not a standalone title. So it's very hard when it's such a huge downgrade from the first game in so many aspects. It's hard to like this game. And it's tough because it's, again, it's not a bad game. You know, when it comes to the art, right? Absolutely amazing. Way better than the first one. I shouldn't say way better, you know, but definitely looks a lot better. 3D models, animations, fantastic. Game has a pretty decent frame rate here. When I was recording, my computer's kind of a potato, so not the best frame rate, but pretty decent. Decent. Combat of the game, absolutely amazing. I think they totally revamped. Not I shouldn't say revamped, but they bettered the combat. I do like the combat better. The art is better. Animations are better. You know, everything you would think that would make this game better than the previous is better. But the core thing that made the first game amazing is just not here. So Darkest Dungeon 1, as probably everybody watching this knows, was a kind of like a, you know, grand campaign kind of game. As your characters went ahead and cleared dungeons and did fights, they got traumatized, they developed afflictions, they developed certain traits, and those things carried over for the entirety of the game, right? After they died, right, they didn't come back, and you could lose that. Your entire run could be ruined because of someone dying, and you'd have to start over the entire game. So there was really big consequences for every decision you'd make, which is that roguelite aspect is probably my favorite, and I think what most people that play this type of game like. And there was just it was just absolutely incredible, right? There was just such like a sense of really like taking every move you do seriously. These are not contained runs. It's like your entire campaign could be lost if you lose one battle. You know, and it wasn't all positive. There's a lot of RNG and things like that too. But I mean, that's what made it amazing, to be honest. The second game is not like that. It is not a grand campaign kind of game. It reminds me a lot of something like Slay the Spire. It doesn't have cards, obviously, but it has those same paths and those same contained campaigns, adventures within like an hour and a half, 2.5 hours. Um, and while the gameplay is very good as far as the combat and all that, animations look great, there is not the same sense of consequence, right? And the fact that any upgrades that you do stay with you for the entirety of the game, and there's no like if you lose everything and start over, that really, really hinders the replayability value of this game. Which Darkest Dungeon was probably an infinitely replayable game. This is not. Don't know how long it takes to beat it. I've been hearing 60 to 80 hours. It doesn't matter to me. The fact that you keep progressions as you move forward, and there's nothing really that'll ruin the entire campaign for you and have to start over. Just that 1.5, 2 hour run, to me, that misses a lot of the essence of what the game is. You know, they added a few cool features as well, like the relationships between the characters, which doesn't seem to fit at all in this game, to be honest. It would have worked great for the first game, but it doesn't fit into this game. And I think me, along with a lot of people, we just wanted more Darkest Dungeon with these graphics and some of the new relationship add-ons and just some betterments. They didn't need to go out of their way and do something totally different. I know like we want to innovate, we don't want to just make like a Darkest Dungeon 2.0, but honestly that's what I wanted, and that's what I think a lot of people wanted. Like if it's not broken, don't fuck with it. Like if you've done the same game, like we're like creeping up to Darkest Dungeon 5 now and it's been the same thing like every year, alright, maybe then. But this is only the second sequel, okay, for a very, very successful and popular formula in game. Man, if something's not broken, don't fuck with it. I really wish they would have just, honestly, like this game even soured for me the first Darkest Dungeon, because after playing it, I went ahead, man, I really feel like playing Darkest Dungeon 1 now, because it's so bad, to be honest. Like it makes me miss so much the first game. Let me go play it. And to be honest, because the graphics, it seems silly, but I don't know why. It's like what psychologically is happening here, but because the graphics of the second game and the animations are so good and the improvements on the combat are so good, I kept, you know, it made the first one suddenly not be as good. Like I know that's really contradicting and bizarre, but it made me want essentially the first game with the changes of the second game. Like I really wanted to just keep that same formula, but I did like a lot of the changes that they made as far as like combat and especially the graphical changes. Man, the art looks very, very good for the second game. I really wanted it just to be, like I said, like a Darkest Dungeon 2.0. Um, Yeah, and like I said, unfortunately, if you're thinking about buying this game and you're kind of on the fence, it's not a bad game. Like you'll have fun with the game. There's like a lot of fun to be had in there. It's not a bad game in its own merit. This is just not a real sequel. It should be its own game with its own title, is what I think. I don't think this should be Darkest Dungeon 2. Could be like Darkest Dungeon Chronicles, like something like that, with just like a different name so that it didn't imply a sequel. Because what really everybody wanted was a sequel to the first game, and this is not a true sequel, man. It's just I'm still very very disappointed. That does not mean I'm not playing the game. No, I'm still playing the game. I'm having fun with it, but it is the more I play it, the more I miss the first game. Um, there is no real sense of consequence to anything you do. Like shortcomings and losses are very, very minor. If you die a grade, whatever, you just spawn a new hero that replaces the old one. Fine, you might have to start over the run, big deal. It's another hour, an hour and a half to do it again. You try and try over and over the same thing until you can do it, great. But there's no sense of grand consequence, like the entire campaign being ruined. Like these relationship developments would be so cool if they weren't a grand campaign kind of game like the first one, because those would carry over to other battles, they would carry over for a very long time, and it would just be very, very cool on the first one. On the second one, it almost seems pointless because the runs are so self-contained. Like who cares about the relationship aspect of things? It doesn't even seem to matter, to be honest. And I don't know, one thing that is very fair to mention here as well is, and this is very serious, and it's one of the reasons I'm kind of giving the number two a break. Like, I wish that they had essentially made this game the way it is and added on the grand campaign thing. There could be two game modes, right? There could be the game everybody wanted and this new version of it too, like almost like two different game modes. That would have been cool. But one thing I will say is the first game, one of the things that made it very good was mods, okay? And that's one of the things that I'm kind of giving this game a discount. Like the core fundamentals of the game will probably not change. But I do know that the first game, one of the things that made it amazing were the amount of mods that were there, and the amount of expansions that were done for the mods, characters, and whatnot. This game, it still doesn't have any mods to it, which I think will add a lot to it. And if you think about the first game was very, very good, but it's standalone without any mods and without any of the DLC, really, with just the characters it came with. Maybe it wasn't as good. I don't play that game without any mods, and one of the things I do, I have so many characters, I do like runs where you can't have more than one of the same character, which is not really possible with the base game. So that alone, like we can't consider the mod as part of the game, right? If we just played the base game, the first one, it was still good, but it's not as good. So maybe some credits, some discounts for this game. And maybe when mods come out, it will add more variety on the characters and it will add more. But really, the core of the game, like the dungeon crawling aspect of it, the booby traps, just the whole vibe of the first game is totally lost here. And I really did not like driving the damn stagecoach. Did not like driving that thing. I felt like it was a completely pointless add to the game. I think it totally it's way more of a hindrance than something that's cool. I didn't like it at all. It's just a pain in the neck. It's just something that's in the way, to be honest. But again, even with mods, I think that will totally help the game, but I don't think it will completely make it better because again, the core of the gameplay for the first one was there. The core ideas, the core grand strategy part of it, the main thing of going through like an entire like play the entire day campaign, and when you get to a certain point you lose a battle, you lose those characters that were super high level, and that's it, you got to restart. That adds to the replayability. It's cool, and the RNG fit in with that. Some people might not like it. I did. This one doesn't have it. Like, there's no sense of real consequence to anything that you do, which the whole point of roguelike and roguelike games is, I feel like that consequence should be there. And maybe it's not as punishing as the first one, but I don't know. That is just my honest opinion. I do think it is a good game for what it is. I just don't like what it is. I think that's the best way to phrase that. Um, I don't like the core of the gameplay, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. And what I would do, to be honest, if I had to recommend this game for somebody, I wouldn't say don't buy it, okay? I would recommend it. If you're a fan of turn-based strategy, even if you didn't play the first one, you'll like this game even more. I think the people that are not liking the game are carrying some baggage from their opinions of how good the first game was, right? If you're coming into this fresh, like, you'll probably like it. Um, but again, it's not a bad game. I think it's overpriced for one. Yeah, $40 here in the US. That's totally overpriced for what the game is. I think it's probably worth like 20, 25. My opinion of the game would be wait a little bit until the game is on sale, buy it on sale, wait for DLC or two to come out, wait for some mods, and I think it'll be a little bit more of an enjoyable experience. I would not buy the game in the current state right now, is my final review here. I would wait for a sale on this game. And yeah, I'm sitting here just really, I wish there was a mod that would make the first game have the current graphics of the first one. That's really what I wanted. I just wanted more of the first game with the current changes that they made on this second game. Um, don't think that'll happen, but really would be amazing. Now I'm just really wanting the third one. I hope that they listen here to the fee, and that's going to be forever, right? It's a small studio. It's going to take years to develop another one, which is sad. Like, this is what we got after waiting so long, and now, I mean, I'll be in my 30s by the time the other one comes out. um, yeah, I don't know what else to say really. Like, I'd wait for a sale on this game, to be honest, and probably will go back. Probably will finish this game and immediately go back to playing the first one. Really hope that on the third one they listen here to the feedback. A lot of people were not happy, which is funny. That's what I'm saying. Like, I've seen so many people doing reviews for this game, and they're praising it, but backhandedly. And when I look on Reddit, it's so divisive, the opinions on the game right now. I think a lot of people want to like it. I don't know. Maybe that's pretentious of me. I think a lot of people want to like it because they spent the money. The game does look good. It does have some fundamental better changes. And when you go to play the first one, you're like, okay, there's a lot of things the second one did better and got better. But the essence of the game, the grand strategy, the just the nature of the game is just not, that is not better, right? And so it would be nice to have a blend in between the changes of the two. It'd be nice to have all the changes they did on the second one, but keep the essential core gameplay of the first one. That'd be amazing. So hopefully they listen and we get a third one and it's more like the first one. That's really what I'd be hoping for. Story of the game is pretty good. Narration is good. All that is still there. Like, the heavy dark lines on the artwork is great. The animations are great. The combat is great. For the most part, this game is great. The only thing that doesn't make it great is because we're comparing it to the first one. It's carrying that baggage from the first game, and it's not going to be as good as the first game. But it's, as a standalone on its own, it's a good game. So take of that what you will. I still think it's not worth $40 personally, but anyway, let me know what you think. I'm curious. I did see on Reddit that this is a very, very divisive subject. This game kind of reminds me of, like, yeah, it reminds me of Slay the Spire, maybe FTL, which are great games. So you would think, oh man, why are we not praising this game? Again, it's because Darkest Dungeon is not FTL. Darkest Dungeon is not Slay the Spire. Darkest Dungeon is Darkest Dungeon. It's like its own genre-defining game. So I did not think that all this change in the core of the game was necessary because, again, sure, oh, it's a Slay the Spire-like game. That's not a deck builder. That sounds cool, right? Great, but it would be good if we didn't take into account the first one, because we're accounting for the first one and we're talking about a game that, again, is genre-defining. It's unavoidable to compare the two. It's just we can't get away from comparing the two. At least I can't. I can't really. I'm really trying to appreciate this game on its own for what it is, but it's unfortunately never going to be what the first one was, and that's just my opinion and my final opinion there. Let me know what you think.